A group of people wakes up confused in an unknown room, where a voice instructs them to choose 3 skill elements within a 10-minute limit. They cannot repeat what others have chosen. Those who finish must say transport to proceed. While some try to understand the situation, others react with despair and rebellion. As the group watches scared, one of them is violently taken down. A calm-looking young man states that there was trash mixed among them. He urges the others to start choosing their skills and warns them not to disappoint him, completely ignoring the shock and doubts of the others. While trying to understand where he is and why he was brought there, the protagonist observes the movement around him. A boy excitedly celebrates getting the skill evaluation, revealing it was something he was looking for. The protagonist notices that those who choose first appear in some kind of order and suspects there is a criterion behind it. The protagonist begins to think about the situation, comparing the concept of skills with games. He realizes that what they are offering are not ready-made skills, but skill elements, as if they were building blocks. Intrigued, he considers the possibility of combining these elements to create something more powerful or versatile. With only 3 minutes left, the protagonist realizes time is running out, and few options remain. He understands he needs to act fast and focus on choosing the elements. Looking at the screen, something catches his attention, making him hesitate for a moment, as if he noticed something important. The protagonist chooses contact as his first element, believing it could be useful to overcome limitations, like in games. While searching for the other 2, he sees that most have already been taken. With few options left, he seriously reflects on his choices and begins to consider an unexpected combination. With only 1 minute remaining, the protagonist thinks that, depending on what's coming, he might end up the weakest among all. Still, he tries to stay focused and hurries to pick the last skill element from the remaining options: stealth, nutrition, or transformation. With only 10 seconds left, the protagonist panics while trying to finalize his choice. Even pressured by time, he stays focused and decides to go with the original plan since it's too late to change. With a tense expression, he finally touches the third and last skill element. Time runs out, and the voice announces the start of the transport. The protagonist, still surprised and in shock, begins to be enveloped by a mysterious energy as he is teleported to a new destination, unaware of what awaits him. After the transport, the protagonist wakes up in an unknown forest. Still dazed, he tries to understand what happened. Right in front of him, he finds a mysterious, unconscious woman among the trees, a figure that seems to have an important connection to the new world he just entered. The protagonist carefully observes the unconscious girl. He notices she has long ears, indicating she is not human. Approaching, he sees she is injured. Not knowing if he is outside the white room from before or somewhere else, he tries to wake her up and asks if she's all right. The elf girl awakens weak and asks who he is. The protagonist introduces himself as Takumi. Even injured, she says she will be fine with some rest, but gives him something, worried about the fate of the elves. Takumi suddenly wakes up in a simple wooden room, confused and wondering if it was all just a dream. Getting up and looking in the mirror, he is surprised by his own appearance, realizing his body has changed drastically. Takumi begins to understand that the transfer really happened. Although he changed bodies, he still recognizes himself. He finds a fallen feather and remembers the elf girl. Convinced that he is in another world as he suspected, he decides to test something typical from games. He summons the word status to check his information. Excited, Takumi tries to activate his status with a confident gesture and the word open. However, nothing happens. He is surprised by the failure, disappointed for not getting any visible response despite the dramatic pose. Takumi panics, thinking his skill choice was a failure. However, suddenly his status interface appears before his eyes. He confirms that he received exactly the elements he chose: contact, text, and transformation. Relieved and surprised, he realizes he can visualize everything mentally without needing verbal commands. Takumi meets Jill, the chief of Rosetta Village, who welcomes him cordially. Observing the tall wooden fence around, Takumi wonders if it serves to protect the village from something. Jill explains that only people from another world leave that building, confirming Takumi is an otherworlder. Takumi asks what he should do to live in that world. Jill replies that the last otherworlder appeared 5 years ago and indicates Takumi should visit the Adventurers Guild to get started. Following the suggestion, Takumi prepares to learn more about his new life. At the Adventurers Guild, Takumi is received by the guildmaster, Hannah, who quickly notices he is a stranger. She guides him to write Rosetta Village as his place of origin and asks if he has a skill element. Surprised, Takumi realizes he can read and write the local language, and hesitates while trying to fill in the profession field. Takumi discovers it is only possible to create skills if they are compatible with the chosen elements. In other words, his profession must align with the skill elements he has: text, transformation, and contact. He is shocked to learn that once registered, the profession cannot be changed. Takumi carefully chooses a profession that matches his skill elements. 5 minutes later, he receives his guild card, registered as a hacker, an unusual profession in that world. Guildmaster Hannah, surprised, says she has never heard of that title. Takumi realizes his choice, though strange, perfectly fits his unique abilities. Hannah offers Takumi some borrowed equipment as a courtesy due to his rare profession. He accepts gratefully. Later, alone in his room with a knife in hand, Takumi begins to think about his next steps in this unknown world. Takumi tests his skill elements on the old knife he received. First, he uses text to read its information: poor condition and attack 3. Then, applying transformation, he raises the attack to 9. He confirms his skills really work and discovers he acquired a new one: analysis. This makes him understand that his skills can evolve when combined. In the following 3 days, Takumi uses his skills to hunt monsters tirelessly. He tests tampering on a magic stone, changes the kanji to English, and finds the skill works even on characters. After defeating enemies, he sells the magic stones obtained. Back at the guild, he is warmly welcomed by Hannah, who introduces him to a new character named Harry. Takumi asks where other strangers go after leaving the village. He learns they head west to a city called Barceri, where warriors gather to defeat the Demon King. Surprised, he questions the previous stranger who arrived 5 years ago. He learns that person was an apothecary who already worked with medicine in his original world. Takumi is warned not to ask more questions about the other stranger, as it might put him in danger. Thoughtful, he begins to reflect on the true value of the skill elements. He realizes they are much more complex than they seem, and that knowledge about them can be dangerous, especially if misused or if it falls into the wrong hands. Before leaving, Takumi uses transformation to change the color and material of his clothes, adopting a more discreet appearance. Upon arriving at the busy city of Barceri, he is surprised by how urban and lively it is, marking the start of a new phase in his journey. After 2 days of a peaceful trip, Takumi arrives in Barceri and notices he has leveled up. At the local guild, he is interrogated by an experienced adventurer who questions his origin and rank. Upon learning Takumi is only rank F, the man laughs loudly and mocks him, saying he will die easily if he isn't at least rank E. Takumi hands over the collected materials, but gets irritated by the hostile guild atmosphere. Despite praising the amount of items he brought in 2 days, some adventurers disdain his ranged fighting style, saying they don't need someone like that. One compares him to another useless adventurer, reinforcing prejudice against his rank F. Takumi suspects one adventurer is using forgery to hide his true profession. Although rank F, the guild clerk is surprised by his performance and offers a promotion, but he politely declines, suspicious of the environment. Upon leaving, a mysterious girl approaches him, asking for a moment of his time. The mysterious girl, still with her face partially hidden by a hood, surprises Takumi by asking to form a group with him. Desperate, she insists and begs for his help, drawing attention from others wondering who she is. The girl, shaken, explains she couldn't find anyone to form a group and doesn't know what else to do. She reveals she arrived in that world 3 days ago, just like Takumi, and is also an other-worlder. Because of her profession and skill element, everyone rejected her. Takumi, surprised, begins to understand her situation. The girl confesses she wanted to hear stories about other strangers, and with a growling stomach, reveals she hasn't eaten since the day before. Feeling pity, Takumi suggests they talk over a meal, offering to pay. Relieved, she accepts enthusiastically and promises to tell everything she knows. After eating heartily, the girl thanks him, saying she feels revitalized. Takumi introduces himself and respectfully says she doesn't need to answer if she doesn't want to, but would like to know about her profession, skills, and skill elements. The girl reveals her name is Miya Hoshino, and that, in the previous world, she was an art student. Her current job is painter, and she has elements related to materials, characteristics, and expression. Grateful for Takumi's help, she says she's willing to tell everything because she feels she owes him a lot. Takumi is surprised to learn Mia is an artist. She admits she can't fight monsters, but explains that her skill deformation allows her to express any image through drawings. Intrigued, Takumi reflects on the potential of this seemingly underestimated skill. Takumi asks if he can use his skill on Mia. She hesitates, revealing she has faced many difficulties since arriving in that world and is scared. But knowing her situation is unsustainable and that she could end up starving, she gathers courage and asks him to use his skill on her. Takumi prepares to use his skill, but Mia interrupts nervously. Blushing, she asks him to hold a certain pose for 5 minutes. Surprised, Takumi agrees, curious about what she intends to do. Takumi activates the skill Tampering, and Mia analyzes her own status with Analyze. She confirms her skill Deformation works. She can express characteristics by exaggerating and concretizing the created image. To test it, Takumi gives her a branch and asks her to imagine it growing, like in an anime, to see the effects in practice. Mia successfully activates her new skill Deformation, making the branch grow violently while holding it. Surprising her, she confirms the skill works, and that the object can return to normal if she imagines it clearly. Now, with basic mastery of the skill, she finally begins to see its potential. Mia's skill transforms the branch into a huge tree impressively. Takumi is surprised by the result and says that with this skill she can already join a group. Mia, still insecure, asks how she could make money with it, but Takumi assures her the potential is more than enough. Mia still doubts herself, saying her skill wouldn't be enough to join a group. Takumi insists that any team would love to have her and asks her to trust him. After hesitating, she accepts his words and sincerely replies, "I will trust you, Takumi." Gathering courage, Mia directly asks to form a group with Takumi. He is surprised by the request, and she, somewhat embarrassed, explains that even though he said any group would accept her, she prefers to be with someone she can trust. Mia misunderstands Takumi's silence and thinks her skill isn't good enough, becoming visibly discouraged. Takumi panics and shouts, assuring her that wasn't the case. Surprised, she asks if he really wants her as a partner, and he answers firmly, "Of course." Takumi decides to name the group Arrange and suggests accepting a rank E mission. Mia, worried, hesitates, saying she can't even defeat a goblin. Other adventurers mock them, saying they will die and should go hunt sewer rats of rank F. Ignoring the criticism, Takumi gives Mia something, maintaining confidence in her. Takumi gives Mia a secret weapon and encourages her to use it on the mission. Soon after, both receive their new adventurer cards. They were officially promoted to rank E. The guild clerk congratulates the duo on the achievement. Takumi and Mia surprise everyone by reaching rank E in just one day, raising suspicions among the other adventurers. Meanwhile, Mia celebrates excitedly. She praises the secret weapon, an upgraded slingshot, and feels safer being able to attack from a distance. Happy with the result and the money earned, she celebrates not having to camp that night. Takumi is shocked to learn Mia had been camping due to lack of money and insists they find an inn since they worked hard. Later, after a quick shower, he thinks he only managed to clean himself partially. While reflecting, someone knocks on his door and he lets them in. Takumi is surprised when a girl enters his room. It's Mia, now without her cloak. She says she wanted to talk a little. Though confused, he allows her to enter. They sit down, and Takumi begins to feel that his new life, free from worries about shelter or food, is finally starting to stabilize. Mia sincerely thanks Takumi for everything he has done, even though he says it wasn't a big deal. Curious about her past, Takumi asks about those who expelled her. Mia answers they were two heroes, a paladin and a sage. Mia comments that it was natural to be a burden, since her profession didn't fit well with her skill. This surprises Takumi, who starts to suspect others didn't know how the correct combinations between profession and skill worked. Mia then asks if there is more her skill can do, showing interest in hearing more of Takumi's ideas. Takumi explains that the staff he is holding was made with Mia's skill. He reveals that the skill Deformation allows adding any imagined characteristic to an object, and these items remain functional even in other people's hands. Mia admits she hid this detail out of fear the skill might be misused, since she heard worrying rumors about it. Mia reveals she has heard of other travelers with useful skills who were killed for refusing to cooperate. This shocks Takumi. She concludes it's safer to keep their skills secret. Then she says that by using her imagination, she can add features to objects with her ability. Takumi realizes this connects to what Harry mentioned in Rosetta Village. Mia suggests using the skill to create a pocket inside the cloak and imagine it has unlimited space, like a dimensional storage item. Takumi understands the idea and is impressed. When Mia asks if he knows how to sew, he says no, and she also admits she doesn't. Takumi recalls that after they earned some money, he went shopping but couldn't fit everything into his bag. The next day, Takumi says they should look for a tailor. Mia appears in public without her hood, attracting everyone's attention. Those who had belittled her before are impressed by her beauty and regret their previous comments. One even invites her to join their group, but Takumi arrives at that moment, interrupting hurriedly, saying he brought what they asked for. A group called Crimson Sword tries to recruit Mia, saying they will now operate in the royal capital, and as rank C, money and safety wouldn't be a problem. Still, Mia firmly declines. They insist, criticizing Takumi for being weak and saying she would be safer with them. Mia responds with a firm no, while Takumi watches silently. Mia loses patience with the persistent Crimson Sword members and shouts that it's been enough. Then, she pulls Takumi and tells him to leave. When they try to stop them, Takumi reacts immediately and lands a direct hit, surprising everyone nearby. The Crimson Sword group suddenly falls to the ground, and Takumi acts as if nothing happened, hinting the floor might be rotten. Mia, with a subtle smile, reveals she used her modification skill to weaken the ground. Even when confronted, Takumi tries to cover the situation, and Mia calls him casually as if it were all a coincidence. Mia smiles sincerely and thanks Takumi for agreeing to partner with her. Surprised and touched by the gesture, Takumi just watches silently, clearly moved by her recognition and trust. Takumi asks Mia not to be so formal, explaining that it can even be a problem during battles. She quickly replies excitedly, showing enthusiasm for working with him. More comfortable now, they prepare for a new day, determined to earn money together. Takumi and Mia complete some missions while searching for a tailor. The last accepted mission involves exterminating giant rats in an abandoned mine. Mia gets excited at the idea of finding treasure chests, but they soon notice the creatures smell strange, unlike normal animals. Despite the disgust, they consider it better than cleanup missions. In the end, they find the tailor they were looking for. Takumi is surprised by the quick feedback about the tailor, being told that although a dwarf, the person has solid skills. Mia sees no problem and agrees. With that, they receive contact information to proceed to the next step. Takumi and Mia walk through narrow alleys as the sun begins to set. After some hesitation on the way, they finally find the simple entrance to the tailor's shop. When they knock, they are greeted by a relaxed-looking elf who cheerfully asks if they are customers. Takumi and Mia are surprised to see the elf, thinking she looks too young and small. Curious, they ask for Marururu-san. With a relaxed smile, the elf confirms she is herself and invites them inside. Takumi and Mia are impressed by the high quality of the clothes displayed in Marururu's shop, admiring the handmade details. Mia then makes a specific request. She wants Marururu to add a pocket on the inside of the cloak. Marururu asks Takumi and Mia to come back the next day to pick up the modified cloaks. Takumi takes the chance to ask about a good blacksmith, and she points them to a dwarf named Kukito, recommending they look for him in the back of the building. She highlights that although dwarves aren't accepted by everyone, Kukito is trustworthy. Takumi and Mia go to the place Marururu indicated and call for Kukito, mentioning her recommendation. When the door opens, the dwarf appears with a bored expression and shouts "boring," leaving them surprised by the unexpected welcome. The dwarf complains that he is tired of swords, spears, shields, and armor, calling it all boring and telling Takumi to leave. But upon seeing the branch altered by Mia, his expression changes immediately, clearly intrigued by the unusual object. The dwarf is completely surprised when examining the branch and asks what kind of wood it is. Takumi asks him to make a weapon with it, but teases that if it's boring, it's no problem. The dwarf, excited, immediately changes attitude, says the material is interesting and invites them in, despite the messy workshop. Takumi and Mia ask the dwarf to make weapons suitable for both of them. Being newbies, they don't know exactly what to ask for. The dwarf, surprised by the request and the rare material, comments that ordinary craftsmen wouldn't be able to handle it. Given the situation, he understands he will have to use his creativity to decide what to make. The dwarf gets excited about the idea and decides to create something amazing for Takumi and Mia, but first asks to see how they fight. Takumi mentions he also requested another job from Marururu, which surprises the dwarf. The next day, the city of Barseri remains busy as they prepare to show their skills. Takumi and Mia demonstrate their brutal fighting styles, surprising everyone, including the dwarf Kukulto. An arrogant adventurer who had mocked Takumi before reappears and starts provoking them, calling them useless. Still, Takumi tries to stay calm out of respect for the dwarf and asks to know their rank, as he wants to reach the same level. The Spirit Hunters group, rank C, openly belittles Takumi. One member, recognizing him as an otherworlder, demands to know his profession and skill. Arrogantly, he claims someone like him will never reach their level. Takumi, staying calm, only answers politely and tries to end the subject. The Spirit Hunter's leader changes tone, mentioning a rumor. Takumi supposedly reached rank E in just one day. Even keeping the arrogant air, he admits he thought about inviting him to the group if he was useful. Takumi stares at him suspiciously, sensing the opportunistic interest behind the words. Takumi realizes that even the Spirit Hunters have heard of his rapid rise to rank E. While thinking of Mia, he feels a cold stare from the elf. The intensity of the look is so oppressive it freezes his body in place, making it clear that person is not there just out of curiosity. Takumi compares the elf in front of him with the elf he met in the forest and notices a clear difference between them. Even being the same race, this new elf radiates something strange. When another member of the group, Hiroshi, approaches, he is immediately dismissed coldly. Takumi realizes the elf rejected him just for being a ranged fighter, just as others had done before. Takumi apologizes to Kukulto for the uncomfortable situation, but the dwarf says arrogant elves are nothing new. Mia, visibly irritated, says she was also despised by the same adventurers before. Now, seeing even Kukulto insulted, she gets furious. Angry, she declares they need to reach rank C or higher as soon as possible, no matter the cost. The next day, Mariruru enthusiastically delivers the finished cloaks. Takumi and Mia are surprised by the quality. The stitches are almost invisible, and the fabric even seems different. Mariruru reveals she used a better cloth she had left over and won't even charge for it. Both thank her, impressed by her care. Mariruru offers free lodging on the workshop's second floor in exchange for help collecting materials to forge weapons. Takumi and Mia try to refuse, but she says she doesn't need payment. Agreeing, Takumi goes to get their belongings at the hotel. Mia, thoughtful, asks if it wouldn't be good to tell Mariruru and the others about their true abilities. Mia says she feels she can trust the people there. Suddenly, a group appears, calling her in a friendly way. They are her acquaintances, called Renobi Lovers, who came to the New World with her. Takumi, surprised, asks if she knows them, and she confirms. Mia's group talks about the difficulties they faced after arriving in that world. They say they couldn't fight well or rank up, and mention that the expensive weapon they bought was useless. One says he knows a good blacksmith, but hints he would only help in exchange for something. They also reveal that one of the people who came with them already reached rank S, showing the contrast with their current situation. Takumi is shocked to learn that one of the people who came with them already reached rank S. He hears rumors about this person, now known as the Reaper, a solo specialist, who never returns from missions with anyone but himself. Everyone else ends up dead. Hearing this, Takumi concludes it can only be someone with an absurd skill, a true cheat, confirming his suspicions that people with unbalanced powers really exist. Takumi and Mia return and are warmly welcomed by Mariruru, who offers to prepare a meal. The two decide to help, and the mood is light and relaxed. During the preparation, Takumi jokes with Mia about the badly cut fruit, and she replies that his isn't better. Takumi thinks about how, despite the difficulties he faced upon arriving in this world, he now has peaceful moments like this with them. During the meal, Takumi is asked if he also intends to defeat the Demon King, as other Otherworlders usually do. Surprised, he hesitates, then the elder in the group decides to explain better. He says that for some reason, Otherworlders always aim for the Demon King as their goal. Then he reveals that the world is divided among four main races: humans, elves, dwarves, and demons. The man explains that elves are long-lived, skilled with magic, and even capable of creating magical tools. They are proud and have a strong racial identity. By monopolizing the production of these tools, they accumulated wealth and power. He also reveals that even the Adventurers Guild is under the elves' influence, who profit doubly by controlling the trade of magic stones. The conversation continues explaining the other peoples. Dwarves, like elves, are long-lived and skilled but focused on item creation. However, their products don't reach the level of the elves' magical tools and are sold cheaply. Humans make up half the world's population, and all other worlds are always composed of humans. Finally, the explanation goes on to talk about demons. The explanation about demons continues. They are powerful both in magic and physical strength. Though few, they can also create magical tools, different from the elves, but still functional. However, since they don't interact with other races, the result is practically the same, a monopoly like the elves. Mia asks if demons attack other races. Kuklito answers no, saying demons seem uninterested in interaction. Takumi, reflecting on the elves' backstage control, comments he doesn't think it's that simple. Takumi comments that the elf girl didn't seem like a bad person. Then, he asks why Kuklito and the other dwarves live in a human city, imagining it must be difficult. Kuklito replies they left the dwarf nation, explaining that the introduction of magical tools created a stagnant environment, causing many craftsmen to give up. Kuklito reveals the dwarves decided to leave because they couldn't stand the situation anymore. Meeting Takumi and Mia rekindled their desire to try again. He believes that if they can create something rivaling the elves' magical items, even the king might recognize their value. Mariruru, excited, also believes this can open the king's eyes and brags about their skills. Takumi responds confidently, "Understood." Takumi gets excited and proposes to create something that will earn the king's recognition. He emphasizes that the goal is not just for the dwarves, but also so that they, as otherworlders, can find a true purpose in that world. Everyone feels motivated and decides to stay up all night planning ideas for new weapons. In the royal capital Melkido, amidst the rain, the guild master observes a request for a rank S mission. He comments with disdain that the task is merely to capture an elf, thinking it exaggerated to assign something so simple to that level, as if being underestimated. The contractor reveals he does not want money, but the throne. He states the reward will be generous, and doesn't care if the elves' secrets are exposed, since he is from another world. Ignoring reactions, he seals the contract with the guild master, and promises to complete the mission. His target is called Reaper, and even wounded, he maintains a determined gaze. 2 months pass. Exhausted, Mariruru and Kukuto finally finish the work in the workshop. Both sigh with fatigue, but celebrate the end of the long journey with relief and pride. With the project completed, Mariruru creates new clothes and accessories while Kukuto forges weapons and armor. Takumi modifies the clothes using his skill, drastically increasing their defense. Now, even with a simple appearance, the equipment offers protection superior to common armor, allowing them to hide their true abilities. Takumi reveals that the main weapon created was a lightsaber, an energy sword. The idea to use a special stone as an energy converter came from Kukuto. As he begins to explain about the materials, Mia interrupts excitedly, asking him to look at something important she is holding. Marururu and Kukuto are surprised to see that the pocket has no bottom, questioning what it is. Takumi confirms it's the pocket Mia made, and she explains that she used her skill so it can store anything, working like infinite space. Mia explains she used her skill to imagine and make real the magic pocket, which stores even liquids and food without spoiling. She also used the same method for the gathered materials. Takumi is impressed, but says he can only slightly adjust statuses with his skill. Still, he acknowledges that with Mia's ideas, they created something amazing. When asked if it was really right to reveal something so important, she responds naturally that it's fine. Takumi proposes something important. He invites Kukuto to go with them to the dwarves' royal capital. He suggests presenting the created weapon directly to the dwarf king and using it to open his eyes. Takumi says that by combining their skills with Mia's, they can create something even better than the current magical tools, right in front of all the dwarves. Takumi admits it would be difficult for him and Mia to get an audience with the king alone. Kukuto sees this as a good opportunity and accepts the plan, scheduling the trip for a week later. Meanwhile, Marururu gets excited about the possibility of a rivalry between dwarven artifacts and elven magical tools. Takumi also reflects that much has happened in the last 2 months. Takumi begins to think about the elves' control in this world. He suspects the elves are manipulating the other worlders, guiding them to defeat the Demon King. For the elves, the demons, who also can create magical tools, are a direct threat to their dominion. If this theory is right, then even if the heroes defeat the Demon King, they might never be able to return to their original world. Takumi concludes that if things continue as they are, the elves will only use the other worlders for their own benefit. That's why he decides they need to visit a country not under elven control, to get information from someone with authority, like a king. Meanwhile, Mia gets excited and says she had an idea, and Takumi remembers she said she didn't need a shield, leaving something open. Mia suggests turning an emotional barrier into a real barrier. She recalls moments of insecurity in the past and comments that a friend used to say she was always raising a barrier. This makes her wonder if she could make that real with her deformation skill, creating a true barrier based on the feeling of emotional protection around her heart. Mia explains that yes, it's possible to turn the feeling of rejection into a barrier. This time the item will be a necklace made by Mariru-san, with a material that already has an imbued image. When the user imagines rejecting something, the barrier will activate automatically. Takumi and she are about to test how it works now. Takumi cautiously wields his new sword. The bladeless part is made of light, making it light. Even as a beginner, he believes he can handle it, or at least hopes so. Takumi tests his new light sword, cutting a tree with ease. He's impressed by the weapon's power and realizes he needs to train to control it better. Then, he prepares to test the necklace with the emotional barrier, wearing it inside his clothes, and ready to provoke an opening and be attacked as part of the experiment. Takumi notices the cut on the tree is burned and recognizes the sword is more powerful than he thought, deciding he needs to train with it. Then, he prepares to test the emotional barrier, putting the necklace inside his clothes. The plan is to create an intentional opening and be attacked to activate the barrier. An attack is launched at Takumi, and the emotional barrier activates just in time, successfully blocking the blow. Surprised and impressed, Takumi realizes the idea really worked. Takumi and Mia celebrate the emotional barrier's success. Then, they decide to accept a new mission in an abandoned mine to train and gather money for their trip. Takumi and Mia go deep into the abandoned mine. The mission was to exterminate giant rats, but they realize they were replaced by a spider infestation. Soon, they find themselves surrounded by many spiders. Takumi and Mia advance through the cave until they face a huge, intimidating spider hanging from the ceiling. The tension rises as they realize this creature is much stronger than the previous ones. Takumi and Mia return victorious from the mission and sell 4 bags full of magic stones collected from high-level monsters. The clerk, surprised by the quality of the materials, considers promoting them directly to rank C. Takumi and Mia are taken to Guildmaster Keith after selling the magic stones. Keith questions where the magic spider stones came from, since that information is restricted. Takumi answers it was on the 3rd floor of an abandoned mine. Keith accepts the explanation, but warns them about the risks of attracting the elves' attention. Keith suddenly attacks Takumi, casting a spell to test his strength. Takumi instinctively defends with the emotional wall, activating the barrier impressively. Keith watches with a smile, recognizing this is Takumi's true power. Keith comments that Takumi doesn't seem to have a special profession or skill, so he deduces his power comes from the equipment. Takumi refuses to answer someone who attacked him out of nowhere, and Mia reinforces that the emotional barrier saved her life. Keith, curious, asks if Takumi would sell his equipment, but he refuses, saying it's not safe in that area. Keith asks what was on the 3rd floor of the abandoned mine. Takumi says he doesn't know since they left right after defeating the Arachne. Keith then promotes them to rank B, but demands they return to the mine the next day to confirm the monster's body is really dead. Keith pressures Takumi, insinuating he may have stolen the magic stone. He warns that a false report could make Takumi lose his adventurer license. Takumi understands the threat and, worried about the consequences, decides to leave the city the next day with Kukuto and Mariruru. Takumi warns that the elves noticed their actions, probably because of the weapons they created. Kukuto confirms and says not to worry. Takumi apologizes and says he has a mission the next day. He agrees to meet them afterward, leaving Mia in the city while he departs temporarily. Mia offers to take care of the dwarves while Takumi is away, asking him to finish the mission quickly. Takumi is surprised by her confidence, and Mia just smiles, showing she has regained her determination. The next day, Takumi returns to the abandoned mine, but finds no enemies, since all were defeated earlier. He completes the mission without difficulties and receives his reward, satisfied with the amount. Takumi hurries back to leave the city with the others, excited after completing his mission. But when he arrives at the meeting place, he finds it empty and silent. Confused, he realizes no one is there. Takumi enters and finds Kukuto gravely injured, covered in blood. Desperate, he calls for the others, but only finds silence and horror at the scene before him. The situation hits him like a shock. It can't be real. Takumi stares at Kukuto's lifeless body in shock. He tries to understand what happened, but his mind freezes. When he shouts for Mia, his instinct reacts upon seeing something move. Fear takes over. Takumi finds Mia surrounded by enemies. One of them humiliates her, saying she only reached rank B by cheating and that she couldn't defeat them. She tries to activate her barrier, but her SP is already at the limit. One attacker grabs her hair, laughing, while Takumi arrives furious, demanding to know what they are doing there. The warrior forcibly holds Mia and demands she hand over the weapons, claiming to have heard about the victory over the Arachne. He says he tried to get the weapons peacefully from the dwarves, but since they didn't cooperate, he attacked them. Now determined, he charges at Takumi, intending to take everything by force. Takumi reacts quickly to the attack, wielding his sword and landing a direct blow to the enemy's abdomen, cutting through the armor like paper. The attacker, surprised, barely reacts to the unexpected force. Takumi, his face covered in blood and furious, faces the surviving attackers. One of them, injured, screams in pain. The other two, panicked, try to defend themselves, revealing they were mere pawns, confessing they received orders from the guild itself to steal the equipment. They try to dissuade him, saying killing them would have consequences. Takumi activates his defensive barrier as he is surrounded. The guildmaster appears, accompanied by hooded figures, and accuses him coldly. He states that Takumi should have handed over the equipment without resistance and now must bear the guilt for killing someone. It's a clear trap. He twists the truth and tries to break Takumi's spirit. Takumi faces the guildmaster's barrier magic head-on. While the enemy arrogantly claims someone like him could never break it, Takumi focuses all his strength on the sword and responds with determination. The barrier begins to crack. Takumi kills the guildmaster before everyone, consumed by fury. The threat that he would kill anyone who tried to stop him causes the others to back off in shock. Some start fleeing in fear, realizing they underestimated him. A voice calls him from the back. It's Mia. Takumi runs to Mia, who is injured and crying. She reveals that Kukuto sacrificed himself to protect her. With tears in her eyes, Mia blames herself, apologizing. Kukuto's body lies motionless, covered in blood. Takumi watches silently as Mia, full of guilt, kneels before Marururu's unconscious body. She laments not having been able to protect them as promised, repeatedly saying she is sorry with sadness. Marururu wakes weak but smiling, saying Mia protected her. Mia, still shaken, asks to take Kukuto's body with them and bury him in the dwarf nation. Despite her injuries, Marururu says she's fine, but warns they need to leave soon, as pursuers are likely on their way. Marururu hugs Mia affectionately and confirms they can take Kukuto. She says he would be happy to follow them. The scene ends with the image of the royal capital, Melkido. 2 months later, Takumi and Mia arrive at the royal capital. They are now considered wanted criminals for the deaths of an adventurer and the guildmaster, who is an elf. Because of this, they must act cautiously, since entering cities requires showing the adventurer card, a magical item that records the holder's identity. Takumi uses his modification skill to alter the names on the adventurer cards. With the identity forgery skill, he changes all the information to resemble other people's. He assumes the name Takuma, blacksmith, while Mia becomes Mick, artisan. Despite this, they still need to be careful not to be recognized by someone who knows them. Even so, they manage to pass unnoticed by the capital's surveillance. While crossing the capital disguised, Takumi and Mia take a longer route, taking the opportunity to gather information. During the journey, a child suddenly appears in front of a moving carriage, and Mia reacts startled upon noticing the danger. Mia narrowly saves the child before the carriage hits her. She hugs the child, worried, asking if she is hurt. Right after, she firmly but kindly scolds her, saying she can't run away like that. The mother runs to the child, calling Anna, and hugs her, relieved. A well-dressed couple gets off the carriage, worried, asking if everyone is okay. The woman shows kindness while the man attentively observes the situation. The crowd recognizes the couple as important figures. One is the holy swordsman, the other a princess. They rush to Takumi and Mia to thank them, insisting they get into the carriage. Confused and pushed inside, Takumi wonders if they are being kidnapped, while the nobles simply apologize for the surprise. Inside the carriage, the nobles introduce themselves as Arthur and Mary Williams. Takumi and Mio also reveal their names, and the rescued girl is named Marina. They thank them emotionally for the help, and Takumi comments with relief that he thought they would be captured when they used the barrier. Takumi, Mio, and Marina arrive at the mansion along with Arthur and Mary. Upon entering, they are formally received by a line of maids, while Arthur reassures them they need not worry about formalities. Then, he says he wants to thank them properly. Arthur surprises the group by deducing that Takumi and the others are from another world, since only someone like that would survive being run over by a horse unharmed. He asks how long they have been there, and Takumi replies hesitantly that it has been about 5 months. They become confused, wondering if they have just been exposed. Takumi confirms they are in the capital to gather information. Arthur offers to help with whatever they need. When Takumi asks for a map of the world, Arthur says maps are valuable, but decides to show what he has anyway, leading them to another room. Arthur shows the map, revealing only a single known landmass. He explains that they don't know if other continents exist, since there are no airplanes in this world. Takumi is surprised and asks about a green area on the map. Arthur reveals that the green area is Titania, the land of the elves, and that it is forbidden to record any information about them. He says even the human country is, in practice, under elven control. Despite the prohibition, he allows Takumi and Mia to make a copy of the map as long as they keep it secret. They thank him. Arthur praises Mia's talent with drawings and asks if she is an artist, but Takumi explains she is a craftswoman and he is a blacksmith. Takumi reveals he wants to go to the dwarves' nation to train, but the old route is closed. Arthur recommends going through Tora village and warns that they should leave soon, as there will be a public execution of a demon in the central square in 2 days. Takumi asks what the demon did to be executed. Arthur replies that the demon attacked an elf, even if outside the kingdom, which was enough. He reveals that the human king cannot oppose the elves since they control the magical tools. Before leaving, Mary invites them to a meal. but Takumi thanks and declines, as they need to continue their journey. Takumi thanks them for the help as they say goodbye, and Mary comments to Arthur that the three remind her of herself and her brother when they arrived in that world. It has been 10 years since then, and although much has changed, she says she is happy to still be by his side. As they travel, Maruru comments on Mary's elegant appearance, as if she really were from another world. Mio gets excited at the idea of receiving a ring made by Takumi when they reach the dwarves' nation, which makes her very happy. Takumi, however, responds awkwardly, saying he doesn't care much about such things, especially engagement rings. As Takumi and the group chat casually, a mysterious man approaches them with a hood, interrupting the light atmosphere. He demands answers and reveals his red eyes. Takumi and Mia are suspicious and, when facing the stranger, confirm he is a demon. Takumi is surprised by the man's size. The demon notices he was not attacked and comments on how unusual that is. Curious about the calm reaction, he asks if Takumi is also an otherworlder. Takumi states that he is allied with the dwarves and wishes to form an alliance with the demons as well. The man asks for proof of this intention. After hesitating, Takumi shows a bracelet that belonged to his father as a symbol of trust. The demon recognizes Kukuto's bracelet, Takumi's father, and is surprised to learn Maruru is the daughter of the renowned craftswoman Meister Marulu. Realizing their importance, he apologizes for any disrespect, while Mia wonders if they are famous. The man introduces himself as Gale and leads the group to a secret shop connected to the demons. The place is protected by a magical barrier against eavesdropping, ensuring safety for confidential talks. Takumi and Mia introduce themselves to Gale, who soon asks if they came from the Holy Swordsman's mansion. He reveals the residents there were arrested for attacking an elf, and asks if they know anything about the captured demon. Gale reveals that, in fact, an elf invaded demon territory and kidnapped someone. To everyone's surprise, the kidnapped person was none other than Princess Carla, of the demons themselves. Gale explains that, even without resentment, the situation may force the demons to fight the humans to rescue the princess. They suspect the elves are behind it all. Takumi asks why they were watching Arthur, and Gale reveals he is the Holy Sword, the strongest among humans, and a trusted person of the king, therefore probably knowing something important about the kidnapping. Takumi concludes it is no use trying to get answers from Arthur, since King Melchido seems powerless to oppose the elves. Gale acknowledges this with a slight sigh. Given the situation, Takumi and his companions volunteer without hesitation, firmly stating they will also help in the mission to rescue the princess. Gale refuses the offered help. He recognizes Takumi and the group's good intentions, but says there isn't enough time to gain the other demon's trust. He hesitates when mentioning the possibility of failure, but quickly changes subject, ending the conversation and apologizing for wasting their time. After talking with Gale, Mia becomes thoughtful about the situation. While walking through the city, she proposes an idea to Takumi to visit the central square the day after tomorrow. She asks if that would be a good idea, suggesting maybe there is still something they can do. Takumi watches her silently, surprised by her initiative. The group decides to make a quick stop but ends up excited to enjoy 2 more days in the city. They choose a more expensive hotel despite the high price. Upon discovering the rate is 5 times higher than in Barceril, the idea arises to share a room among the 3 to save money. At night, the 3 share the same room. The girls sleep in the bed while the boy settles on a sofa. Noticing one of them is awake, he comments that he expected that and asks if she can't sleep. During the early morning, one of the girls approaches the boy and starts talking. She mentions something from the past that made her want to live alone, but he reminds her they are together now. She tries to justify her behavior, but he says he can't leave her alone. The conversation shows his concern and the growing bond between them. Lying next to him, the girl begins to open up. She says that upon arriving in this world, she had no anger towards demons or dwarves. She speaks sincerely while he listens silently, absorbing what she reveals about her old feelings. The boy comments that making money in this world is easier than in the previous one, but recalls that Mia faced many difficulties. Therefore, his wish is to send her home safely. The conversation ends with the friend joking and asking everyone to go back to sleep. The next day, Takumi returns from a trip to the market, while the girls are still asleep. He delivers a recovery potion and says he would have bought more if he could sell the magic stones at the guild, but remembers they are being hunted. He reveals he increased the potion's effectiveness from 10 to 80, showcasing his skills. Curious about Takumi's powers, the girl hands him a stone and asks him to transform it into a cat since she wants to practice drawing. Takumi, surprised by the request, decides to try even without having thought about it before. He concentrates, but nothing happens, leaving everyone confused. In the end, she complains. "Where's the kitten?" Takumi reflects on his ability to transform objects. He can easily turn the stone into a larger block, but realizes he had a mental block when trying something more creative, like making it into a cat. They discuss how conviction directly influences skill success, and how some limitations may come from the subconscious, like rejection or doubt. Takumi realizes he can create things he has seen before more easily. The girl explains she was able to imagine the object well because he guided her to visualize it clearly. They conclude that when something has already been drawn or imagined, it becomes easier to create with the skill. Even without fully understanding, Takumi admits that visual knowledge and creativity really make a difference. Takumi says that if he improves his drawing skills, his powers might also evolve. The girl, excited, asks if they could be models for her art practice. With important parts covered, of course, she reveals she just wanted to practice drawing again. In the end, Marururu is chosen as the model, and Takumi escapes the situation. The city talks about the execution of demons accused of attacking and eating humans. Takumi notices the uproar and suspects the elves are spreading the news. He deduces they are gathering a crowd on purpose, hoping the demons react and cause casualties, all to fuel hatred between races. As the crowd gathers for the execution, Takumi spots an imposing man arriving, Arthur-san. His presence immediately draws attention, making clear he has an important role in the event. The execution of the accused demons is about to begin. Bound and surrounded by guards, they are displayed before an angry crowd. The people shout angrily, calling them enemies and demanding their death, while the ceremony takes on a tense atmosphere filled with hatred. While the group watches the movement, a loud roar echoes through the skies. People begin shouting and running in panic as they see a dragon approaching. Takumi and the girls are surprised by the sudden appearance of the creature flying over the city. The dragon attacks suddenly, leaving Takumi in shock. He realizes the danger as the creature flies straight toward them, destroying buildings with the impact. Chaos takes over the streets as people run, desperately trying to escape the beast. The confusion increases when the demons manage to escape during the attack. The dragon, revealed as their ally, aids the escape. Takumi and the group observe the scene, noticing something strange coming out of the creature's mouth. Worried they might also be in danger, they decide to run. The dragon continues its furious advance, destroying everything around. Takumi watches in shock as the creature roars intensely. At that moment, Arthur appears with authority, drawing his sword firmly, ready to face the threat head-on. Arthur attacks the dragon with precision, wounding it severely. Takumi watches shocked, while others shout for Arthur not to let the creature escape. The group realizes that if the fight continues like this, the dragon will be killed, and with it, the demons will also be at risk. Takumi realizes fleeing and ignoring everything would be wrong. Seeing the dragon wounded and surrounded, he decides to act. With determination, he calls the others and declares they will save the dragon, even knowing the risks. The group worries upon seeing the injured dragon. At that moment, a mysterious man appears. Takumi recognizes him as Gale-san. His presence surprises the others while guards approach questioning who the newcomers are. One clarifies, they are the otherworlders mentioned the day before. Takumi learns the captured woman is Princess Carla. He offers to heal the dragon, knowing they plan to escape riding it. Gale assures Carla can trust the group, and Takumi says the ideal moment to act is now, as the explosion's smoke covers the enemy's vision. Princess Carla decides to trust them and asks Gale and the others to hold the enemies. Takumi manages to close the dragon's wounds, but has already used all potions. He asks Rito if he can complete the healing. After assessing the situation, Rito confirms the dragon is ready to depart. Gale warns that their allies stayed behind to hold the holy sword and buy time. Princess Carla reacts anxiously, but he insists they must flee immediately. Firmly, Gale reminds them they cannot waste their companion's sacrifice. With tears in her eyes, Princess Carla apologizes for leaving the allies behind. Gale thanks Takumi for the help and declares they will continue together from now on. Takumi, surprised, hears the decision while the group prepares to leave. Takumi warns that if they take off like that, the dragon may be shot down. He offers to help, saying they have skills that might be useful. Gale, relieved and grateful, accepts the offer and invites Takumi and the group to join the escape. With everyone ready, Rito takes off following Gale's instructions. As the dragon lifts off, Takumi watches the city and wonders if the demons left behind managed to stop Arthur. The aerial escape begins, but worry for those left behind still weighs on them. Takumi watches surprised as Arthur appears before them, imposing and ready for confrontation. With hand on his sword and determined look, Arthur makes clear it's not over yet. The group watches in shock the demons' bodies on the ground, All have been eliminated. Arthur demonstrates his power, delivering a devastating attack. Takumi panics and shouts for Rito to take off as fast as possible. The girls question if that was magic, surprised to see the holy sword is just a human despite his immense power. Arthur strikes an extremely powerful and fast blow, releasing a wave of energy that cuts everything in its path. Gale tries to react, but is surprised by the attack's speed and intensity. Takumi watches the scene in shock, eyes wide open, unable to hide the fear of what he just witnessed. At the last moment, the dragon with Takumi and the others aboard manages to enter the escape portal. The scene is surrounded by intense light and destruction, while Takumi watches with an expression of relief mixed with shock, aware of how close they came to death. Takumi prepares to use his protection magic in mid-flight, knowing any mistake could be fatal. Mia tries to help, but he stops her, saying interference might cancel the barriers. With a determined look, he takes full responsibility, aware that losing focus for a second means death. Takumi keeps his focus as the group flies on the dragon, trying to maintain a safe distance from Arthur's attacks. A new cut slices through the air, destroying everything in its way. Despite the pressure, Takumi believes that by keeping distance, they will escape safely. After escaping alive, Mia hugs Takumi relieved, saying she thought everyone was going to die. Gale thanks Takumi for his help and reflects on Arthur's attack, concluding he is not just an ordinary human. In the end, the truth is revealed. The Holy Sword is actually another reborn from another world. Arthur realizes he attacked Takuma and admits he only noticed after being blocked. He says that in battle, he prefers not to think about whom he is facing. His sister apologizes, but he says he chose this path as the Holy Sword and doesn't regret it, even acknowledging the weight of his actions. Arthur reflects that, even being the king's sword, there are things he does not want to cut. His sister warns that the king is calling him to deal with a matter, but Arthur realizes the one behind it is a manipulative figure called the Viper. Despite reluctance, his sister insists he must go, as the demon case is probably part of that woman's plan. Fearing the consequences, Arthur's sister says she will be killed if she goes alone. Arthur, determined, extends his hand and says they will go together. Then, in Melkaido Castle, he is praised for his performance. They report what happened. During the execution, they were ambushed by a dragon, and the demons managed to escape. At the castle, the superiors question how the demons escaped so easily. The responsible party apologizes, explaining the battle happened in the middle of the city, which limited their actions. Still, he claims the dragon was left severely wounded. Ambassador Eldor confronts him, saying defeating the creature should have been easy for someone like him. Eldor pressures Arthur, questioning if he just watched the escape happen. She points out that healing such severe wounds requires high-level magic or a very powerful potion. Arthur reaffirms his loyalty, saying he would never let it happen. Then, the conversation changes course. They mention the real reason for the meeting is the death of the guildmaster in Barsaril. Arthur confirms the guildmaster case remains unsolved. When questioned, he reveals the culprits were a man and a woman from another world. Eldor reacts angrily upon learning elves also died and demands cruel revenge. Arthur reveals the involved names, Takumi and Mia. He explains they used an unusual red sword and a barrier magic able to repel any attack. Arthur reports that when trying to bring down the dragon, his attack was blocked by a barrier magic. The ambassador confirms one of the attackers used exactly this kind of magic, linking the case to Takumi and Mia. She accuses Arthur of protecting them because they are humans like him, insinuating he isn't even trying to hide it, a behavior she says is typical of a holy sword. The ambassador orders Takumi and Mia to be captured alive, but if they are killed, their heads must be brought. Arthur, though bothered by the authority she shows, accepts the order and promises to capture them. Meanwhile, he silently wonders, who gave that woman so much power? The elven ambassador smiles maliciously, satisfied to have fueled humans' fear of elves. She says that with this, the elves' king's concerns would be eliminated. Meanwhile, another noble laments before the throne, saying that without the elves' magic, the kingdom cannot protect its people, and begs Arthur's forgiveness for having to submit to the elves' influence. Arthur commits to act according to the king's expectations, even knowing the burden of the situation. He and Mary decide to leave alone to avoid risks of a demon attack. Meanwhile, it is revealed that one of the demons to be executed was actually a princess, something Eldor had hidden. The discovery shocks those present and highlights how little humans still know about demons. Arthur states there may be an inevitable conflict this time, but promises to return within a month. He suspects Eldor's intentions in sending him after Takumi at this moment. Meanwhile, the king orders to keep watch on the Adventurers Guild in case the elves start to act. The king then asks General Gibson to monitor the situation in the capital, showing concern about Eldor's possible plans. Arthur and his sister discuss the mission's course. They conclude that Takumi and Mia's likely destination is the dwarves' kingdom, and to get there, they will have to cross the Shirakami dungeon. Meanwhile, Takumi reflects on Arthur, realizing he is also an otherworlder, and that his sword skill may be a special technique. Takumi realizes Arthur is not someone they could defeat in a direct fight, especially since he is also an otherworlder. Because of that, he decides to use his analyzing and altering skills as their only chance of victory. Meanwhile, the group notices the dragon is growing weaker. Even with wounds closed by the potion, the lost blood was not recovered, and the dragon avoids landing because it knows it won't be able to fly again. Takumi tries to use his skill to analyze Arthur, but is surprised by scrambled and illegible texts. He suspects it is a language he doesn't recognize. When asking if monsters are living beings, Gale answers, no, they are weapons created from sin and miasma, revealing they are artificial entities, not natural creatures. Takumi discovers monsters are weapons powered by magical stones. Their strength and appearance are determined by the amount of sin and miasma contained in those stones. Surprised, he tries to understand more about these elements. Meanwhile, Mia has an idea and asks Gale to convince the dragon Rito to land. Mia suggests using magical stones to restore the dragon's energy since they couldn't sell them while on the run. Gale agrees, acknowledging that although the stones don't heal wounds, they can replenish energy. Meanwhile, Carla wakes up and asks about the others. The woman watches silently, understanding the situation. A man approaches and asks her to talk to Rito because they want to let him rest. Calmly, she approaches and tries to speak to Rito, asking him to listen. The boy approaches the creature in the air, asking it to come down. With a firm expression, he confesses he doesn't want to lose it too. The creature watches silently, touched by his words. After the problems with the magical stones are resolved, the group breathes a sigh of relief. While resting near a waterfall, they discuss their next steps. One of them reveals plans to head to the dwarves' kingdom. Another group mentions they will pass through there too, and since the path to demon territory requires crossing a dangerous dungeon, they suggest traveling together. The group realizes Arthur knows where they are going and may pursue them. This worries everyone. While thinking of a solution, they discuss that no one noticed Rito approaching the central square. They decide he should return for now but are unsure how to do so without attracting attention, as flying would be risky. They explain they used a magical item that blocks detection to hide Rito, but it was damaged during an attack. Still, they manage to use it by attaching the device to Rito's body with a needle. The item works by absorbing energy from a magical stone inside it. While discussing the situation, one member asks permission to question the princess. One character asks if Rito really doesn't attack humans or dwarves, and the woman confirms he does attack. This surprises the others, who recall Rito being calm with them. She explains he may see them as allies because they are in a group. Then they say Rito is smart enough to control this, unlike common monsters. Still, she questions the reason for the question. One young man insists the problem can be solved using the girl Mia's skill. She seems confident, but another group member warns that the magical detection blocking item may be dangerous if Rito turns against them. Therefore, they make clear they will only fix the item if they are sure it poses no threat. One member promises to convince Rito and asks for an explanation about the magical item. The other begins explaining that the item doesn't make someone invisible, but erases their presence. However, noises or conspicuous movements can still reveal their position. Mia listens carefully and says she understands how the item works. Before starting, the group asks that everything be kept secret. Mia concentrates and carefully repairs the magical item. After fixing it, she asks them to check if the device works again, while Rito lies down in the back, waiting. As soon as the item is activated, they realize Rito's presence has completely disappeared. Everyone is impressed. They explain that the reconstruction was done using Mia's skill called deformation, and now the item works only with her imagination, without needing energy from the magical stone, which prevents overloading Rito. One of the girls comments that this resembles an artifact, as it works without relying on traditional magic. Mia realizes the item may be an ancient artifact, since it works without a magical stone. The other girl confirms artifacts are ancient technology and praises Mia's skill. Then she asks what their journey's goal is. One of the boys answers they are trying to return home, but the elves have made this path difficult. The girl acknowledges she was saved by them and, wanting to repay, offers to help somehow. With a confident smile, she asks to join the group, showing she is determined to continue with them on the journey. The princess insists on joining the group, surprising everyone. Takumi asks if she is really sure, reminding her that she is royalty. Even so, she explains that her father takes care of everything in the kingdom, and that she wants to learn more about the world outside. The group comments that having more people makes the journey more fun, and Takumi eventually agrees. With a smile, the girl asks to be called just Carla, making the atmosphere more informal. They introduce themselves and agree to spend the night right there. They decide to say goodbye to Rito the next morning, ending the day calmly under the sunset. While some were absent, Takumi went to help gather firewood. Curious, he asks about the relationship between the elf and Carla. The other explains he is her royal guard captain, although admitting he failed to protect her in the past. The next morning, the group says goodbye to Rito, asking him to keep the magical item activated and to be careful with his fragility. Watching the scene, they comment that demons have a natural connection with monsters, but Rito's attachment also comes from Carla's affection, almost like a mother to him. With that, they continue their journey toward the Shirakami dungeon. During the walk, one comments on a magical tool that shows location and direction, comparing it to a GPS. Another observes that the demon's equipment is very advanced but exclusive to them. This raises a reflection. If other races could use these items too, they could become a threat. Therefore, they start to better understand the elves' distrust. The group finally arrives at the dungeon entrance. They comment that a pass is required to cross the area and that monsters are present, so extra caution is necessary. One assures that Gale is reliable in combat, and the protagonist, curious, asks if he can check Gale's attributes before proceeding. Takumi analyzes Gale's stats and is surprised to see he is level 91, despite being cursed and without active skills. He comments that some blessings and effects seem dangerous. Carla explains that demons have more complex systems, and says she will explain later. Then they suggest Takumi try the pass needed to enter the dungeon. Takumi tests the magic pass, extending his arm in different directions until he hears a sound from a specific direction. They discover the sound indicates the correct path. Carla comments she had heard about this from her father, but this is the first time she sees it working. Using the sound as a guide, the group moves forward into the dungeon. Takumi discovers the bracelet he is wearing was specially made for him from the start, as a gift from the girl's father. The item represents the dwarves' trust and recognition, as well as their gratitude toward him. Because of this, she suggests Takumi go ahead of the group and promises to support him along the way. The group organizes to move through the dungeon. Takumi takes the lead while Mia stays in the rear, ensuring safety. Everyone is impressed by the place's appearance, which seems magical and mysterious. Despite the beauty, some show apprehension about possible monster appearances. Still, they proceed confidently. Inside the dungeon, the group encounters armed skeletons. One member notices they have not yet been detected and tells the others to just observe. He then walks directly toward the enemies without drawing his weapon, leaving everyone confused and attentive to his intentions. The warrior approaches the skeletons without being attacked, and soon explains that, being a demon, the monsters do not consider him an enemy. He shows how he can use magic even without skills, converting his spiritual energy into magical power. Everyone watches surprised, as he easily defeats the enemies. Takumi comments that the demons seem too strong, and Carla explains that despite this, they can only use magic compatible with their nature. She uses fire and wind, while Gale uses dark magic. Suddenly, voices echo through the cave, ordering the group to stop and demanding to know who they are. A mysterious group confronts Takumi and his allies, demanding to know how he obtained the Gonhilrim Pass. Without hesitation, Takumi replies that he received the pass directly from Master Kukuto. One of the people in front reacts surprised upon recognizing the name, indicating the situation may become complicated or clarified from there. Takumi asks permission for the group to enter the city, highlighting they are accompanied by the demon princess. In response, they authorize entry and warn that a magic circle will appear to transport them. Before leaving, the guards say the situation details will be discussed later. Takumi signals to proceed, and the group enters the transport portal. The scene cuts to a modern, enclosed environment where two mysterious figures wait, suggesting something important is about to happen. The group arrives at Gonhilrim and is greeted by two local officials. One immediately recognizes Carla, showing respect. She urgently asks to send a message to her father. Takumi is surprised to realize demons live in the dwarves' kingdom, while Gale recognizes one of the officials as the source of the information they received earlier. Takumi explains the princess was kidnapped by the elves, not the humans. The official is relieved she is safe, but already suspects the information given was distorted. Gale realizes the report sent to Melchido probably blamed the humans for their allies' deaths, which could trigger a war. For this reason, Carla and Gale decide to return to try to prevent a direct conflict between demons and humans. Carla firmly states the war must be avoided at all costs. Since she is still being pursued, they ask that her identity as princess be kept secret, treating her as a common demon during the stay. To speed up the return, a dragon will be prepared, and the group should wait about 3 days. Takumi and the others ask to meet the king, and Tatara replies that they will likely be received. He says he will confirm the meeting and ask them to wait outside the gates. While waiting, Takumi notices it is already nightfall. Takumi realizes they are still inside the dungeon, but the sky above seems real. He soon discovers the sky is artificial and that the place is an ancient city discovered 200 years ago. Since no one lived there at the time, the dwarves began inhabiting it. Despite this, no one knows exactly how the structure was built, suggesting the use of ancient technology, possibly an artifact. They talk about the city's ancient technology, and Maruru admits it is far beyond what they can currently reproduce, which frustrates her. Takumi praises her creations, while Mia comments she is excited to see the ring Maruru is making. She remembers the project and confirms with a smile. The dwarf king, Gonhilrim, is informed about what happened to Kukuto. With a serious expression, he shows sorrow upon receiving the news, making clear that Kukuto was someone important to him.